Chapter 52, System. Overlord, the multiverse by Black_Bolt. 2K570. Mare shifted uncomfortably under Aura's gaze, his pointed ears twitching with nervousness. I didn't know what to do, he admitted sheepishly, his heterochromatic eyes darting between Albedo, Shaltir, and the rest of the Guardians. I was afraid, and I didn't want to cause any trouble. Shaltir's question pierced through the tense atmosphere, her crimson eyes fixed on Mare with unwavering intensity. You said he coughed blood, right? She asked, her voice calm yet probing. Maybe it wasn't because he was ill. Maybe it was because he wasn't drinking high-grade blood. Demiurge, ever the inquisitive strategist, couldn't help but interject. What do you mean by that, Shaltir? He asked, his tone betraying his curiosity. Shaltir paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts before responding. Lord Alexander is the lord of all bloodline, the highest class of vampire, she explained, her voice carrying a hint of reverence. His very essence is intertwined with the purity of high-grade blood. If he were to consume anything less, it could have dire consequences for his health, or so I think. Albedo's brow furrowed in concern as she absorbed Shaltir's explanation. So you're suggesting that Lord Alexander's condition may be a result of his blood consumption, she mused, her mind racing with the implications of Shaltir's theory. Shaltir nodded solemnly. Possibly, she affirmed, her crimson eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. But if by any chance that's the case, then we must act swiftly to ensure that he receives the proper nourishment. Albedo's brow furrowed further, her mind racing as she contemplated Shaltir's words. So what type of blood do you think he needs? She inquired, her voice tinged with urgency. Shaltir considered the question for a moment, her crimson eyes narrowing in concentration. Given Lord Alexander's status as the lord of all bloodline, only the highest quality blood will suffice, she responded, her tone decisive. He requires the blood of beings with pure and potent life force, such as high-ranking demons, fairy king or ancient dragons. Albedo nodded in agreement with Shaltir's assessment, recognizing the importance of providing Lord Alexander with the most potent blood available. Then that's good news, she concurred, her voice filled with determination. Demiurge, Sebas, cut your hands, and Yuri, bring a glass to pour the blood. In Death Domini. After our intense reunion, which lasted until the wee hours of the morning, Death and I found ourselves seated at a quaint pantry table, sipping on steaming cups of tea. After our wild escapade, which could rival any soap opera cliffhanger, Death and I ended up in a cozy pantry, nursing our wounds with cups of tea. Ah, Tilda, my hip hurts, Death groaned dramatically, wincing as they shifted in their chair. You were quite the whirlwind, I chuckled, suppressing a grin. But seriously, how does Death manage to throw out her back? Ah, well, this isn't my real body, Death explained, taking a theatrical sip of tea. Right, like I could forget that, I replied with mock incredulity, raising an eyebrow. Seriously, darling, Death interjected with a playful smirk, I'm not pulling your leg. Of course not, I deadpanned, earning a laugh from Death. Okay, enough with the puns, Death conceded, still chuckling. Let's talk about the multiverse system. I couldn't help but burst into laughter at the abrupt change in topic. Sure, so my multiverse waifu system is on. Death joined in the amusement, her laughter echoing through the pantry. Yes, it's online, she confirmed, waving her hand theatrically as the system interface materialized before me. Status. Alexander Sejictus von Mortis. LVL, 1. Current level progress, 0-100 XP. Race, Lord of all bloodline. Age, Eternal Youth. Class, Vampire God Lord of Wrath. Attributes. Strength, 250. Dexterity, 150. Constitution, 180. Defense, 190. Charm, 200. Magic, 180. Karma, neutral evil. Karma point, 10,000. Special skills. Death Blessing Special grants immortality, nothing can kill you. My love, get stronger. E rank grants a 10% experience boost and increased recovery during sleep. Death Obsession, X rank when the host's soul is threatened, Death intervenes, returning the host to her dominion to eliminate the threat and potentially destroy the world in the process. My stats point is much less compared to my original Yggdrasil stats. Why is that? Well, darling, Death chimed in with a playful smirk, in this multiverse system, the whole multiverse is considered, so your stats got a bit diluted in the cosmic blender. I blinked, trying to wrap my head around the concept. So, what you're saying is that I'm now just a small fish in a big, intergalactic pond. Death chuckled, nodding in agreement. Exactly, but hey, this system will help you get stronger. And what is this karma point? I blurted out, my curiosity piqued by the mention of yet another fantastical element in our already surreal conversation. Death chuckled softly, a twinkle of amusement in their eyes. Ah, karma points are like cosmic points, except instead of earning them for good deeds, you accumulate them based on your actions in the universe. Ah, so it's like a reward system for not being a jerk, I mused, trying to wrap my head around the concept. Exactly, Death exclaimed, nodding in approval. And in the grand scheme of things, they can be quite handy for making purchases in the shop. As I mulled over the implications of a celestial shopping spree, Death interrupted my thoughts with a mischievous glint in their eye. Speaking of which, why don't we take a peek at the world's list? I sense a bit of anime excitement in the air. Suppressing the urge to scream with glee, I nodded eagerly, mentally commanding the interface to reveal the coveted list of fictional anime worlds. The fictional worlds related to anime. One Punch Man SSS rank world. Bleach A rank world. High School DxD A rank world. Demon Slayer B rank world. Jujutsu Kaisen A rank world. The fictional worlds related to movie. Marvel SSS rank world. DC SSS rank world. Vampire Diaries C rank world. As the list of fictional anime worlds unfurled before me, I couldn't contain my excitement. Each title held the promise of adventure and discovery, like a treasure trove waiting to be explored. One Punch Man, Bleach, High School DxD. Chapter 53, Coming Back to Life. Overlord, the multiverse by Black_Bolt. 1.9K570. Thanks, Death, I'll repay this favor with my body, I joked, not quite realizing the gravity of my words. Then I will suck you dry for eternity, Death replied with a sly grin, sending a chill down my spine that I couldn't quite shake off. I gulped nervously, suddenly regretting my choice of words. Maybe I'll find another way to repay you. Death chuckled, the mischievous glint in their eyes never fading. Don't worry, darling, I was just teasing. Mostly. I forced a laugh, trying to brush off the unease that lingered in the air. Right, noted, let's stick to less permanent forms of repayment, shall we? And with that, we returned to RT, the lighthearted atmosphere of our conversation now tinged with a hint of apprehension. Note to self, be careful what jokes you make with Death. I took a sip of tea, trying to dispel the lingering unease from our previous exchange. So, Death, which world do you think I should visit first? Death leaned back in their chair, a contemplative expression crossing their features. It depends on what kind of adventure you're looking for. Well, I was thinking of, I began, only to be interrupted by the sudden assault of sweetness on my taste buds, a flavor so intense it felt like a sugar rush to end all sugar rushes. What is this intense sweetness I'm feeling? I exclaimed, practically swooning with delight as I savored the deliciousness. Death closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with a sly grin. Ah, that, my dear, is the taste of forbidden fruit. I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Forbidden fruit. Indeed, Death replied, leaning in conspiratorially. It's the essence of your guardians, feeding you their blood. I nearly choked on my cookie, eyes widening in shock. There, blood. Death nodded, a wicked gleam in their eye. Oh yes, and let me tell you, you've never tasted anything quite like it. I stared at Death in disbelief, unsure whether to be horrified or impressed. Well, I guess I can add vampire delicacies to the list of unexpected treats on this journey. And why are they feeding me their blood? I ventured cautiously, afraid of what the answer might entail. Death's smile widened, as if she found the whole situation amusing. Oh, you know, just your typical guardians worried sick about their comatose master and considering a full-blown massacre to wake you up. Nothing out of the ordinary. I nearly choked on my cookie, eyes widening in horror. Wait, what, a massacre? Death nodded nonchalantly, as if discussing the weather. Oh yes, it seems they're planning to go all out and offer you their blood as a wake-up call. Quite the dramatic gesture, wouldn't you say? I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead as the gravity of the situation sank in. Holy flying shitballs, I muttered under my breath, my mind racing with the implications of my guardian's drastic plan. Death, you have to send me back before they do anything insane, I exclaimed, panic creeping into my voice. Death's smile remained unchanged, her eyes twinkling with amusement. Well, if you insist, darling, but you might want to brace yourself for a rather eventful wake-up call. And with a wave of her hand, the world around me began to blur and fade, transporting me back to the realm of Nazarick just in the nick of time. In Nazarick. Then that's a good news, Demiurge, Sebas, cut your hand and Yuri being a glass to pour the blood. Without hesitation, Demiurge and Sebas stepped forward, their expressions resolute as they prepared to fulfill their duty to their lord. With practiced precision, they each made a small incision on their palms, allowing their blood to flow freely into the waiting glass. Yuri, ever efficient and composed, quickly fetched a glass and presented it to Albedo, her movements fluid and precise. Here you go, Lady Albedo, she said, her voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. Albedo accepted the glass with a nod of gratitude, her mind focused solely on the task at hand. With a steady hand, she carefully poured the blood from Demiurge and Sebas into two separate glasses. Once the glasses were filled, Albedo turned to Shaltir, her expression resolute. Here you go, Shaltir, she said, her voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. These contain the blood of high-ranking demons and ancient dragon. May they aid Lord Alexander in his time of need. Shaltir accepted the glasses from Albedo. With a steady hand, Shaltir carefully poured the blood from the glasses into his mouth, ensuring that every precious drop reached its intended destination. He is drinking it, but we need more blood, Shaltir declared, her voice devoid of any sentiment as she delivered the stark truth. Demiurge and Sebas exchanged a knowing glance, understanding the gravity of the situation. Albedo, cut off my hand, Demiurge commanded without hesitation, his tone firm and resolute. As a demon, he understood the importance of sacrificing for their lord, and his loyalty to Lord Alexander superseded any personal considerations. Albedo nodded in acknowledgement, her expression reflecting the same unwavering determination as she approached Demiurge with a sharp blade in hand. However, before she could cut off the hand, Alexander's hand made a small twitch. The sudden movement sent a ripple of hope through the room, reigniting the flickering flames of optimism that had threatened to fade. Albedo and the Guardians watched with bated breath as Lord Alexander's hand twitched again, this time more pronouncedly. He's responding, Albedo exclaimed, her voice tinged with disbelief and relief. Quickly, let's see if he wakes. As Lord Alexander's eyes slowly opened, the Guardians held their breath, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Albedo's gaze remained fixed on their lord, her expression a mixture of hope and apprehension. Welcome back, my lord, Albedo said, her voice barely above a whisper as she leaned in closer. Tilda. Give me your opinion and criticism about the chapter. I can only improve my story if you point out what is wrong and what is needed to change. And leave at least one comment and review if you like my fanfic. In my Patreon this volume is over. Chapter 54, Fearsome as a Soggy Noodle. Overlord, the multiverse by Black_Bolt. 1.9K673. Black_Bolt. Currently there is 30% off on my Patreon for everyone till the 26th of November. Welcome back, my lord. I opened my eyes, expecting to see the familiar surroundings of Nazarick, but instead, my vision was immediately filled with a pair of gigantic milkers, dangling right in front of my face. Holy moly, mother of all boobs, of course I couldn't say that out loud. The owner of said impressive assets turned out to be none other than Albedo, who stood before me with tears glistening in her eyes. Her expression was a mixture of relief, joy, and, dare I say it, a hint of pride. My lord, you're awake, Albedo exclaimed, her voice quivering with emotion as she reached out to touch my face, her massive memories threatening to eclipse my entire field of vision. On the side, I noticed Shaltir, Cocytus, Aura, Mare, Demiurge, Sebas, and the Pleiades also present, their expressions ranging from relief to curiosity. My lord, can I ask why you were not consuming blood? Demiurge inquired, his tone polite but curious. Why you ask, Demiurge? I replied, sitting up straight on the bed. Demiurge cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses as he prepared to explain. Well, my lord, as your loyal servant, it is my duty to ensure your well-being. And as a vampire, blood is an essential source of nourishment for you. Your prolonged abstinence from blood consumption has raised some concerns among the guardians. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at Demiurge's explanation. Seriously, was he suggesting that my coma was all because I wasn't sucking down enough blood smoothies? Talk about a unique diagnosis. It's because of your diet, you fell into a coma, Demiurge continued, as if he had just cracked the case wide open. Okay, hold up, my dear Demiurge, the reason I took an extended nap was because Death herself wanted to chat and hand me a fancy system. Not because I was skipping out on my daily dose of hemoglobin. But how on earth do I explain that without sounding like I've gone completely batty? Oh, by the way, folks, it wasn't the lack of blood that put me in a coma. It was just your friendly neighborhood Death paying me a visit. Yeah, that would go over well. I glanced around at the gathered guardians, each of them looking at me with varying degrees of concern and confusion. Great, now they probably think I've lost my marbles along with my appetite for blood. But hey, I'm the lord of all bloodline, right? Surely, I can survive without guzzling down pints of the red stuff like it's happy hour at a vampire bar. I cleared my throat, trying to muster up some semblance of seriousness. Ah, yes, about that whole coma thing. It's actually a funny story. Nope, that didn't sound convincing at all. You see, it's more of a supernatural circumstance. I stumbled over my words, mentally kicking myself for not coming up with a better explanation. Demiurge raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical of my vague response. Supernatural circumstance, my lord. Yeah, you know, the usual. Death, systems, the whole shebang, I replied, trying to play it cool while secretly praying that Demiurge wouldn't press any further. Can you explain it, my lord? Demiurge asked. Flying fuck, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to tell the truth. Actually, I had an intense battle of stamina and Virgo, physical intercourse didn't say out loud with Death. And after that, she gave me a system to travel through different worlds, I blurted out, unable to hold back the truth any longer. Demiurge's eyes widened in shock, his glasses nearly slipping off his nose. You what, my lord? He exclaimed, clearly taken aback by my revelation. Yeah, it was pretty wild, I continued, feeling a strange sense of pride at my conquest over Death herself. So let me get this straight, Demiurge said slowly, as if trying to process the absurdity of my words. You had a fight with Death, who came to claim your life, but you fought Death and emerged victorious. And not only that, but you even asked for compensation from Death in the form of a system thing. And to top it all off, you made Death cry for mercy. It seems he misunderstood my words in the wrong way. Here we go, buckle up for the ride. As I would expect from you, my lord, Demiurge said, his voice filled with admiration. You truly are the strongest being in existence. To think you not only fought Death and emerged victorious, but you also made Death cry for mercy. The rest of the guardians also followed his lead, showering me with praise. Well, this escalated quickly. But hey, who am I to argue with a room full of admirers? Strongest being? Who? Me? I can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Have any of them seen my stats? I'm like a premium tuna in a sea of sharks. But hey, I'll take the compliment. As I basked in the glory of their adoration, a nagging thought crept into the back of my mind. Should I set the record straight and tell them the truth? I mean, how long could I keep up this charade before someone caught on to the fact that I was about as fearsome as a soggy noodle? But just as I was about to open my mouth and spill the beans, a familiar voice echoed in my mind. It was Death, of course, always there with her cryptic advice and enigmatic wisdom. Just let things be, dear, she said, her tone tinged with amusement. Why? I asked, unable to resist the urge to challenge her cryptic words. Because it's fun to watch you trying to clear up their misunderstanding, Death replied, her voice dripping with mischief. I couldn't help but let out a resigned sigh. Of course, Death would find entertainment in my predicament. Chapter 55, Surprise. Overlord, the multiverse by Black_Bolt. 1.8K566. And dear, I also left another surprise outside Nazareth, Death said with a mischievous twinkle in her eyes, her voice dripping with playful amusement. I had planned to reveal it in my realm, but since you beat me to the punch, I'll leave it up to you to discover. I couldn't help but chuckle at Death's teasing tone, her sense of humor never failing to catch me off guard. Oh, another surprise. You're spoiling me, I replied with a grin, feigning mock indignation. Death grinned back, her laughter echoing through the ethereal realm. Well, you know me, always full of surprises, she quipped, her eyes dancing with mischief. I couldn't resist rolling my eyes playfully at her antics. Oh, believe me, I've learned to expect the unexpected from you, I retorted, unable to suppress a smile. With a playful wink, Death gestured towards the entrance of Nazareth, her expression teasing yet oddly endearing. Well then, my dear, I won't keep you any longer. Go on, go and uncover your surprise. And don't forget to tell me all about it later, she said, her voice laced with anticipation. I grinned back at her, feeling a surge of excitement coursing through me. You can count on it, I replied, then turned to the guardians, who was looking at me with star in there, Albedo and Shaltir has love in their eyes. I will be going outside the tomb for a bit, I said as get up. I don't want to delay the surprise of Death now, can I? But just then, objections came from all directions, voiced not by one, but by all. We can't let you leave just like that after your encounter with Death, Alexander Sama, they chimed in unison, their concern palpable. I sighed inwardly, realizing that convincing them to let me go would be no easy feat. After all, I may have just become the invincible hero in their eyes, but that didn't mean they were going to let me waltz out of Nazareth without a fight. I thought of Death, silently pleading for assistance, but she just grinned mischievously, clearly enjoying the chaos she had unleashed. Well, looks like I'll have to put my negotiating skills to the test, I muttered to myself, steeling myself for the battle ahead. And so, with a deep breath and a forced smile, I turned back to the Guardians, ready to charm my way out of this sticky situation. I knew I needed a brilliant plan to sway them. I cleared my throat, summoning the aura of a true ruler, if I had any. Guardians, I began, my voice resonating with authority. I understand your concerns for my safety, and I appreciate your unwavering loyalty. However, there is a matter of utmost importance that requires my immediate attention outside the tomb. The Guardians exchanged uncertain glances, their resolve wavering slightly under the weight of my commanding presence. Can you tell me what this important reason is, my lord? Albedo asked. Oh boy, here we go. Time to improvise like I'm in a high-stakes improv comedy show. I want to see if Death hides her panties outside the tomb. Pervert, Death suddenly said. Hey, it's just a joke. But as I turned back to face the Guardians, I kept my expression stoic and composed, as if I were discussing matters of the utmost importance. That's something I can't say, I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil raging within me. It's a matter of great secrecy. Even then, Alexander-sama, please reconsider, Albedo pleaded, her voice tinged with worry. It's far too dangerous for you to venture outside alone, especially after your recent encounter with Death. I sighed, realizing that I would need to come up with a more convincing argument if I had any hope of getting them to see things my way. But before I could respond, another voice spoke up from the back of the room. Perhaps we could accompany Alexander-sama on his journey, Demiurge suggested, his tone measured and diplomatic. The suggestion seemed to catch everyone off guard, myself included. Could it be that Demiurge was actually coming to my rescue? That's actually not a bad idea, I admitted, trying to mask my surprise with a casual tone. Having a squad of elite guardians accompanying me on my quest does have a certain ring to it, doesn't it? Shaltir perked up at the idea, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Oh, I can't wait to sink my teeth into some unsuspecting foes. She exclaimed, her enthusiasm bordering on bloodthirsty. Indeed, Cocytus chimed in, his deep voice rumbling with anticipation. It shall be an honor to accompany you, Lord Alexander. Who would have thought that a simple request to venture outside would turn into a full-blown expedition with the entire Guardians in tow? Well then, it's settled, I declared, mustering my most authoritative voice. Tilde. If you use the discount code 08D44 on my Patreon, you will get 30% off on my Harem God tier, which has about 90 plus advanced chapters. This deal will end on November 23rd. Make full use of it. Give me your opinion and criticism about the chapter. I can only improve my story if you point out what is wrong and what is needed to change. And leave at least one comment and review if you like my fanfic. In my Patreon, this volume is over. You can join my Patreon for